It's 1850, an island lays dormant, with the only activity being the seagulls that swarm the terrain. That would soon change, as the United States government would soon find use of the land by transforming it into a military reservation to protect San Francisco from the rising popularity of the California gold rush going on at that time. So, construction on a military fortress would begin on the island. Little did anyone know, this island would become one of the most historical landmarks in the United States. This island's name was Alcatraz. 1909, the military base that the government built decades ago is torn down, and in replacement, a prison is starting to be constructed. Ever since the late 1850s, the government had been using the base as a prison, and finally, they were transforming the island to hold a huge facility. It would take 2 years to fully complete the project, and prisoners being held at the island at that time would build the prison. At first, it was used by the US Army and given the name Pacific Branch US Disciplinary Barracks for the US Army. Essentially, from what I found, it was used to imprison members of the US military who committed a crime. Eventually, in 1933, the prison would be gifted to the US Department of Justice by the Federal Bureau of Prisons. Once the Department of Justice took over the prison, they decided to turn it into a maximum security prison. Alcatraz Prison would officially open in 1934. Prisoner steps inside a cell. After being convicted of a bank robbery, burglary, and various other crimes, this criminal arrived at Alcatraz, which is just one of the multiple prisons he had been in. He also had a history of attempting to escape the prisons he stayed at. The criminal, Frank Morris, would soon be joined by 2 other inmates that he knew from some of the other prisons he had been at. The inmates were John and Clarence Anglin, who were brothers who were convicted of armed robbery. Clarence was given 15 years, and his brother was given 10. John would arrive at Alcatraz later that year, and Clarence would arrive in early 1961. One day, while in the prison, one of them discovered some old saw blades. This discovery led to the 3 men making the goal to escape Alcatraz. Morris would take the lead in planning this escape since he had the most experience. 2 years after stepping foot into his cell, Morris was ready for him and his group's escape. According to an accomplice who helped them with the plan, Alan West, this is what most likely would have happened on June 11th, 1962, the night they escaped. The trio would put fake dummy heads they made in their beds to make it look like they were sleeping. Then they would make over to the vents in their cells. Over their stay in Alcatraz, the trio would work on drilling small holes around the vent cover with homemade drills they made. They would then make their way to a corridor that rested right behind their cells. This corridor was unguarded. After arriving there, they climbed to the roof of their cell block, where they made a small hideout to keep their eye out for guards who were doing their last count of all the prisoners. They also left equipment they needed for this escape in the corridor, such as homemade life preservers that were made out of raincoats, a 6 by 14 foot rubber raft that was made out of steam pipes and rubber, homemade wooden paddles, and a tool to inflate the raft that was made out of an old musical instrument. After gathering their materials, they climbed out of the prison through the ventilator, onto the roof, jumped a fence, and sailed off. The sun awakes, guards are conducting their daily morning cell checks, and they soon come upon the fake dummies planted in the prisoners' beds. Alcatraz immediately went into lockdown, and a desperate search across the island would commence. However, the search would result in nothing. Authorities would get a hold of the men's records and told boat operators to be on the lookout for any debris or equipment they might have left behind, and told boat operators to be on the lookout for any debris or equipment that washed up on shore. Luckily, some of the men's equipment would be discovered, such as a wooden paddle, a packet with some of Anglin's personal items, and one of the life vests. The life vest would be found on Cronkite Beach in California, which resulted in the area being searched further, but unfortunately, no other evidence would come up. Alan West came forward to help with the case, and originally he was going to attempt to escape as well, but failed due to not cutting the vent cover off in time. Authorities eventually came to the conclusion that the men's raft broke, and as a result, all 3 of the men drowned in the ocean. They officially marked the case as solved on December 31st, 1979. However, this wouldn't be the last update to the case. In 2018, San Francisco police revealed that in 2013, they had received a letter from someone claiming to be John Anglin. A portion of the letter stated,
"I escaped from Alcatraz in June 1962. Yes, we all made it that night, but barely."
The letter claimed that the trio lived in secret. The writer said Morris died in October of 2005, and Clarence would follow in 2008. Anglin said he was suffering with cancer and offered to surrender for cancer treatment. However, the FBI would never be able to verify if this letter was real or not, and as of now, this case remains cold, with no further updates. On March 21st, 1963, Alcatraz shut down due to the prison being too expensive to keep running. In the very end, 36 inmates attempted to escape, 23 were caught, 7 were shot and killed as they were running, 3 drowned, and 5 successfully escaped. And currently, Alcatraz prison is being used as a museum.